Can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
You're talking about evidence and faith. We're always talking about that when we come down here.
Yeah.
Do you know your wife is faithful?
I have a reasonable expectation that she is, but I don't know for sure.
This is a question. I'm not trying to get smart with you, but it's just an example of you're wanting perfect, concrete evidence to know that there's a God.
Yeah.
And we go by reasonable faith, what's reasonably proven. That's why I was asking you. You don't have any for sure evidence, so that she's faithful, right?
I get a Christmas card from her that says she loves me. She'll fluff my pillow before we go to bed. She'll kiss me. She'll send me a nice text in the morning. I have demonstrable things that she shows me that demonstrates.
Claims. Those could be just claims, right?
I would say that that's evidence.
So does she have the same beliefs that you do?
I really don't want to get into that.
My point is those that you're not there watching her right now.
Right.
So you really don't have true evidence.
That's true. That's true.
You still believe that she is.
I don't like to use the word believe in that context, especially with believers, because you're trying to equate your belief in a supernatural being with my reason.
Exact question and the same reasoning that you use, though, because you're believing.
I can tell you what the difference is. With your belief, it doesn't seem that you're open to new evidence to show you that you're wrong. Whereas for me, you are.
I'm reading your book.
So awesome. The first 2 chapters are actually better than anything that but I'm open to additional evidence. Now, if I discover something that would demonstrate to me that she's been cheating on me, it would alter my belief.
But for right now, my point is that without seeing her, without true, real, concrete evidence, you are still married and you're still believing it.
That's right.
That's the same thing it is
exactly.
with God and his reasonable proof.
Yeah.
We believe based on reasonable proof and fact.
Yeah. I may probably never know for sure that she has been faithful to me. I believe it. I'm open.
That's my point that I was going to make.
That's good.
Think about that because
that's a good point.
The same reason you're using on us, it can be used with you.
Yeah. But here's the thing, my eternal damnation and roasting in hell for all of eternity is not dependent on my belief if she's faithful to me or not. And for you, you've hitched your wagon to the Christian God. You've decided that the Muslim is wrong, and it doesn't seem like you're even open to investigating that. You're so convinced. I don't think that you're probably open to evidence that the Muslim is right, just like in contradiction to me being open that I might be mistaken about my wife.
I'm using reasonable fact, like you said you are with your wife. You're using reasonable demonstrations to use that for your basis that you believe she's faithful. Because
like what?
You can't use the fact that you see her. You don't, unless you have her on surveillance 24 hours a day. You can't prove that. Mm-hmm. She could be underneath some guy right now, but you're not there. You can't see her.
Right.
So my point is that we can't see God either. You keep asking us to prove God's real. All we can do is use reasonable evidence from history and from prophecy that it's accurate. So you're asking us to do something that's impossible, which can't be done.
Let me ask you this.
Standing on that.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry about that. You mind? You cool?
Go ahead.
My understanding that my wife is faithful, that belief is falsifiable. We were talking about this a little bit. Me discovering, a man's underpants in my bed might be evidence to demonstrate, or at least get me thinking that maybe something's going on.
But it still wouldn't be real evidence either way.
No, but it'll at least get me thinking, right? Now, if I walked in on her, doing that right then and there, then it would be conclusive.
That's evidence.
I'm open. I can think of something that would convince me that my belief that my wife is faithful was incorrect. Can you demonstrate? Not demonstrate, but can you identify what that might be, Troy? That would be the death knell to your belief. Can you identify what that would be? What would it be?
A lot of things, because I've already seen that a lot of things are accurate. We've already talked about that. The prophecies that have been written. Like one example.
I know that's why you believe. I want to know what it would take for you to discard your belief. Like, I'm willing to discard my belief that my wife was faithful if I discovered her in bed with somebody. What would it take for you to discard your belief in your God?
It would take a lot of things.
Can you name one?
Well, the fact that he doesn't answer prayer. You've got that sign that says,
Do you believe?
God answered prayer, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing there that I know for an absolute 100% fact that you're way off and you're completely lying about that. You have no clue what you're talking about in that area, because I know God answers prayer. He's answered mine.
But again, you're listing.
No.
You're saying that. Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but it sounds like you're saying. You sound like you're saying that prayer is a reason why you believe. I want to know what would be a reason to cause you to not believe.
Well, after I've got to that point, how can I not believe anymore? After he's proven that I can't see him, but he's answered my prayers.
Are you unable to identify what it would take for you to get rid of your belief?
Yeah, I think something would have to come out of the sky and tell me that was never God that answered my prayers, and that was always being fooled and believing in an invisible friend, and I was crazy the whole time.
So let's say if someone's watching this video and is just really loves the banter that we have, and they hire somebody to drop something from the sky, next Sunday when you're preaching.
Yes, I don't mean something. I mean, like you said the other day, that God would have to prove himself right here and do some kind of miraculous.
He would know what it would take to convince me.
To convince you. For me to be convinced after the fact that he's already proven that he's real.
Yeah.
Then he would have to go backwards and give me even more proof that he's not. It would be much easier to prove.
You're telling me that you would require proof from the God that exists to give proof that he doesn't exist?
Because he's already proven that he does exist. He's already answered my prayers.
Yeah. You're still
very
not
contrary to what you're trying to advertise there. You're trying to get people to talk to you about prayer, and you're so far, off the boat that he probably will never answer your prayer because he's already said.
Well, I don't pray.
Well, you don't.
I don't
don't pray, but I doubt even if you did, he would answer them, and you're always gonna be an unbeliever.
Yeah, I used to believe in God. To a certain extent.
You never really did. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's kind of the conflict that I pointed out to you before.
If you did believe in him, but you wouldn't be in the condition
you're kind of drifting off the topic of prayer when, I specifically told you that me walking in on my wife having an affair would convince me that she was unfaithful. And maybe you can take some time to think about what that event or that evidence would be that you can tell me that if I saw this, I would get rid of my belief. Because if you're unable to identify it,
it's not just one thing.
Then you're not evidence-based, Troy.
Yes, I am. It's not just one thing. There's too many things.
Name one thing that it would take.
All the times that I've prayed and he's answered them, that I know for a fact they've been answered, they would have to all be somehow explained away. And some things have happened in my life that cannot be explained away.
Okay, so if we think of that's good. So if we think of the most important thing that you prayed for and it came true, but I was able to demonstrate to you that actually what you perceived as a prayer coming true, that there was a worldly explanation for it.
More than one.
Yes, but I'm saying if I can, let's say you did 100 times and I was able to just knock them all out.
And all that, whatever.
That would. Okay, that's good. So you were able to identify something. So if a prayer that you had could.
Go ahead.
But that's good. I'm somewhat impressed that you were able to.
So what if I can identify something that could do that?
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Let me ask you this. Let's say that there was something that you prayed for. It was very important to you. It came true, and I had an explanation for it.
There are some things that you can explain.
Yeah.
But there's some things that there's no way that they could have happened by explanation.
Yeah. I think, in order for me to be convinced that, that what you're saying, that you really believe what you're just telling me right now, I would need a specific example of what it would take.
I'm calling you on that. Because you're demanding proof from all these people that God exists.
I just told you that I would be convinced that my wife was cheating on me if I walked in and saw her having sex.
But you're not.
Would this convince you right here?
Randy. You're not believing. You're not believing right now. You're believing right now based on just reasonable demonstrations. You're not demanding
verse 1.
Perfect, hard, concrete evidence right now. See what I mean?
Are you saying I'm believing that a God doesn't exist?
There is no
You're
God.
trying to change the point now.
I'm sorry.
About your wife.
Okay.
You're believing your wife.
He threw me off a little. I'm sorry.
You're believing your wife based on just reasonable demonstrations, you said.
Would that prove it to him, you think?
Yeah, like cards.
Not perfect evidence.
Right.
You're not using perfect evidence right now.
I could probably never know for certain
That's
that my wife.
Point that I'm making.
Yeah,
that you're believing her even though you don't have perfect evidence.
That's right. But
that's what.
But listen.
God, though.
But I'm always willing to revise my stance on it.
Until you But
I get the sense that you guys aren't willing to revise your stance, and you guys are locked in. You guys are locked into your beliefs.
What do you think about this right here?
Because we know.
What do you think about that right there?
Which one?
Right
Psalms.
There. Right in 1 and 2.
Yeah. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Now.
No, finish reading the whole thing. Verse 2 also.
Okay. The Lord looked down from heaven.
Now read all of verse 1.
Okay. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. Okay.
What do you think about that?
Listen, I'm not saying there is no. I told you this before.
But what do you think about that?
I think it's.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't write that. David wrote that. King David.
It's a book that has those words in it.
But King David wrote it. I mean, you can prove that. Historians will tell you that. College professors that don't believe in God.
Do you believe everything that you read?
Do you believe there was a King David?
I don't know. I haven't really investigated it.
Where did it come from then?
Yeah, I mean there might be a King David, but I mean.
But
listen, let's say
you don't believe that.
Let's say
you don't believe what that says.
Let's say King David existed. It doesn't mean.
But what did that?
Randy,
listen, if this is true, what did that just call?
At least we can have a conversation now. It seems.
He likes to.
What does that call you right there? Well, because I'm hungry and you ain't.
Well,
what are you doing?
This is saying, I'm not saying there is no God, Randy. I'm just saying I don't believe in it. There's a knowledge claim and there's a belief claim.
If you're saying
there's a difference.
Believe in him, that means there's no God.
No.
Yeah, it's double talk.
I don't believe that there's a Bigfoot, but I'm open to being convinced that there's one.
Well, you were not convinced by the Word of God. I didn't write that.
I'm not convinced.
I let you read what was written there. I didn't say it.
All right.
I didn't write it. I let you read it.
So I mean,
I'm just making the point.
Yeah, just because it says it in the Bible doesn't mean it's true, Randy.
Well, you're proof of it that it's true.
How am I proof?
Proof of it.
How am I proof that the Bible's true?
Because everything you're doing, the ranting and everything you're talking is foolishness. It's just foolishness.
I think I asked pretty good questions.
You don't have anything to back up what you believe or what you don't believe. You have nothing to back it up. But
I'm not making the claim, Randy.
What we believe. You see,
you're making the claim that your God exists.
What he was trying to tell you a while ago was he's trying to show you by your faith, you're trusting that your wife is not cheating on you.
Are you saying faith is trust?
Faith is trust. Trusting the truth. There is a truth. You believe there's a truth, or do you believe that everything is whatever man sees as truth is truth? Is that what you believe?
That's a deep question.
What is truth? What is your definition?
I was asked that before by Phil. I think truth is reality. And the only way that we can determine what is real is by observation, by evidence, by falsifiability, by repeatability, by testing. Well, sure.
You're not observing your wife right now.
Well, that's true.
So then you're not doing what you said you should be doing.
Well, I mean, come on, I can't be on her 24 hours a day. And also,
that's what you're asking us to
being eternally tortured in hell is not dependent on her faithfulness. Her being.
But would it take you being there, then you would believe? If you were there, if you went into hell and you were being tortured, would you believe then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But why would you want to take that chance?
I mean, I think you're taking a chance that you've latched onto the right God.
But look, why would you want to take that chance?
I don't respect your God of the Bible. I don't think he's worthy of my respect.
What do you respect? What God would you respect if there was a God?
Probably someone that doesn't kill babies, someone that doesn't kill the firstborn.
Does he have a name?
No.
So he's an impersonal.
Somebody that would actually.
He's impersonal.
Somebody that would actually demonstrate his existence and not rely on men to translate his word in the Bible.
Hey,
you're translating it. You guys have the same Bible, but you're interpreting it differently.
Do men kill babies?
Yes, men kill babies.
So why do you blame God?
I don't believe in a God.
You just blame God. You just blame God. You said because you wouldn't believe in a God that kills babies. Where do you see?
You can't
see where God kills babies?
Listen.
Listen. Would you believe that death entered into the world because of man?
You can't blame something you don't believe in, Randy.
Would you believe that death entered into the world because of man? All the wickedness and everything is not God. It's
I don't know if you remember the first conversation we ended on, talking about the Easter Bunny, and that I was mad at God, and I said, well, I don't believe in God. Are you mad at the Easter Bunny? You don't believe in the Easter Bunny, and then you walked off.
Me confused with somebody else. I don't believe in no Easter bunny. I don't believe in the celebration of Easter.
Yeah.
That's Catholic. That was your old belief. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in Christmas.
Right.
I don't believe that's.
But why do you blame the Easter bunny?
I didn't blame. No, that was you.
No, but I'm turning it around to you.
No, that wasn't me. I didn't say anything about the Easter bunny.
No, I used that as an example.
I don't believe in the holidays of men. Because they're made up by your old religion, the Roman Catholicism. Because see, the Roman Church, all you got to do is get in the encyclopedia. Would you believe the encyclopedia, the history of the encyclopedia, a non-Christian book, the history? Go in there, go home, go get any encyclopedia you want to get. That's a non-Christian, and read about the Inquisitions and the Spanish Inquisitions, and that was all done by Roman Catholicism, burning Christians.
How is that going to demonstrate that you're God's church?
It doesn't. Just go home and read it and see, because you were raised by Roman Catholicism.
Oh yeah.
And because you see, let me tell you, religion has a way of blinding people, and when people are smart enough to see the wrong in religion, then they turn away from it. But you can't blame everybody that believes in God, because they're believing in a false God. They're believing in a false God, just like the Muslims are believing in a false God, like the Mormons are believing in a false God.
And I know that you're convinced that you're believing the right one.
But the thing is
you've said it in the last conversation.
My God proved who He was.
Listen, you said it.
My God proved who He was.
Listen.
You want to know my God? Let me tell you what my God did.
Listen, I want to have a conversation with you.
God died for you on the cross.
I don't want to be lectured by you.
He proved who He was. You lecture me.
No, sir. I ask you.
I ask you
bullshit.
You just want to guide my words.
I ask you questions.
I'm going to take off. My God proved Himself because He died on the cross for you. There's history.
That's what you believe.
No, the dictionary says there was a man named Jesus who claimed to be the
You believe
Messiah.
everything you read?
Sure, I believe the things that I read that I know are true. So you can't trust anything you read.
I didn't say that.
Well, do you believe everything you read?
No.
Do you believe
but
what
you
read? What the books that you read that's got you convinced that there's no God?
I'm not convinced there's no God.
Well, where are you getting all your philosophy from right now?
Introspection.
What's that mean? What's
looking inside, thinking, talking to other people. That's one of the reasons I'm out here.
Can I ask you just a personal question?
Sure.
You've got to take it off the camera if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But do you ever have evil thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where does that come from inside of you? The Bible says that comes out of your heart, and that your heart is desperately wicked, and it's deceitful above all.
That's what the Bible says. But listen, even if you can let me answer.
Yeah, but you proved it with your own heart. You got the evidence of your own heart. Your own heart has showed you that it's desperately wicked and it's deceitful.
Listen, just because you can assert something doesn't mean it's true, Randy.
That's not asserting.
You're asserting.
No, I asked you, have you ever had an evil thought in your heart?
And I said yes.
Yes. That's proof. That's
right.
proof.
And I probably take issue with the word evil as well. I would say harmful.
And he also says that out of men's heart comes murder, lying, debate, deceitfulness, drunkenness.
Yeah.
All of these things come out of the heart of men. So what I'm saying,
there are some good truths in the Bible. It doesn't mean that it's true.
Don't blame God for babies getting killed.
I don't blame anything I don't believe in.
God didn't tell the abortion clinic.
I'm not blaming a God. I'm not blaming your God or his God or your God.
Well, you just said you talked about a God that would kill babies. What babies did God kill?
No, you asked me what God.
No. Did he say that or did he not say that?
If you let me finish, you asked me what God would I believe in, and I started giving examples of a God that wouldn't kill babies.
Okay. So the opposite of that, because a coin has a heads and a tail, the opposite of that is that you're not believing in God because He kills babies. That's a fact. There's a heads and a tail.
Listen.
If I toss up a coin and it comes up heads and tails, when you say that I would believe in a God, I ask you, what kind of God would you believe in? You said I would believe in a God that doesn't kill babies.
So I have to go kind of soon, but listen.
The other side of that coin is the fact that you believe in the God that we believe in kills babies.
Let me.
Because we're telling you about our God that died.
You're preaching
for you.
again.
Well, I'm going to preach. That's what
I know, but I want to have a conversation.
I preach like you debate. Okay, I preach. You
listen,
debate.
I actually want to have conversations. I want people that are listening to walk away, and including us, to walk away closer to the truth. I don't believe any of the claims in the Bible.
But there again, I ask you, what is truth?
And I told you.
It's an introspect. And was that the word you used?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
no.
In other words,
That's my problem. That's the only reason that started me with this question about, you said you don't believe the claims, but you're believing your wife without evidence. That's just my point. I didn't want to get into
I told you I've had evidence. I've had text messages. I've had gifts from her. I have the breakfast that she made for me this morning.
Those are just claims.
I had a girlfriend that used to do the same thing. Loved me, took care of me, but she was cheating on me every day.
No, sir. You're mistaken. The claim is that I trust my wife and that I believe she's not having an affair, right? That's the claim.
But you don't know for sure. That's just my point.
That's true. I don't know for sure, and I admitted that.
Right.
That's faith.
But you're not willing to admit.
That's faith. That's faith. That's your faith.
Faith is belief without evidence.
Substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Right. I don't have
words you want to use.
I like to use the word reasonable expectation in that example.
Well, you can call that just the same as faith, though.
Yeah, it's just a word.
You're believing that she is not unfaithful because of reasonable evidence.
But you were still unwilling or perhaps unable to give me a specific example.
He gave you a very good example.
Well, he did say prayer, but you wouldn't tell me exactly what it was.
I'm not going to tell you that. That's my own personal business. Just like you won't tell me what offended you and caused you to get this way. I think it was something in your religion, but you won't tell me that. I mean, you got personal things.
See, that wasn't me that said that. You got me confused.
No, I could pull it up on video in 2 seconds.
Pull it up and show it to me.
Yeah.
You say
you'll see it soon enough.
Yeah, but whatever. My point is that you're trying to use our reasoning to get us in a corner and to get us to prove evidence that we cannot possibly prove. And
you can't prove it.
I just turned it back on you to say you're doing the same thing that we're doing, and you're kind of hypocritical because you're trusting your wife without evidence.
Right. I can give examples that would illustrate to any reasonable person that my wife is faithful.
Plenty of illustratable, reasonable evidence that God is true.
But you can't.
We don't need to prove that God up there that can't be seen is real. All we need to prove is that this book is accurate. Because if this book is accurate, then it automatically proves that God is real.
Let me ask you this: what would be an example of the Bible? Let's say we came across something in the Bible. What would it be in the Bible that you would accept as demonstrating that it was not accurate?
You have to give me an example. Don't you know them?
I could think of a couple.
What? Like what?
I would say 20 contradictions.
Name one.
No, I'm just saying that would be. If I saw 20 contradictions.
You're being hypothetical now.
No, I'm telling you specifically.
Then just be specific and give me one.
No,
okay.
Yeah,
I would say.
I don't want to get off on guess and conjecture.
No. You're missing my point.
No, I'm not. I want to stay on facts. Give me a contradiction in the Bible.
You said 20 contradictions.
Well, there are.
Okay,
no, you got.
Tell them.
Then back them up. Yeah, just back them up.
Okay, let's say that I have them.
Then have them.
Okay, I'll bring them next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna go eat till next week.
But you're missing my point. You kind of missed my point.
God bless you. Good to meet you.
Okay. Wow. So where were we, sir? I actually have to get going in about 10 minutes.
No, that's fine.
What did you think of that exchange?